Good morning. My name is Tim Froude. I'm President and CEO of Sokoman Minerals Corp. We are a junior exploration company focused on gold and lithium in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. We currently have 3 active projects with drills on them or programs just wrapping up, and we're expecting a flurry of news this fall that should obviously help spark our market and hopefully revive a much languished, stock price that we've all been suffering from in the past few years. But I'm actually on the Grey River project, one of the projects that we've we're just about to finish drilling here. I'm just here to shut the program down. But as I mentioned, drilling as well on our flagship Moosehead project, gold, and our lithium project just to the west of us here at the Kraken.
Well, Tim, good to have you back. We haven't had you on since the beginning of the year, back in February. We did a sort of technical analysis and due diligence session with Zen, and then we thought we'd better let you go off and do some drilling, which you've done. I noticed the press release recently had a good reaction in the market in terms of this thick, high-grade result. Is there more of that to come?
Well, we're certainly hope so, Matthew. It was certainly welcome. I mean, we know this system is capable of producing, hits like this. It's not our first hit. It's not our best hit. It's one of our best hits. Yes, it's probably in our top 10 drill holes. But the significance of it is where it is and what it looks like. We think this is either a new system developing either within or parallel to the main eastern trend, which is where the intersection was. And for those that aren't familiar with it, it was the high grade portion of it was 10 meters of about 42 grams, which when you include the rocks uphole and downhole that were also mineralized, 39 meters of 12.5 grams. So it's 100 meters deeper than any of the modeling we've done on the eastern trend so far, which of course opens up a world of possibilities for us in terms of extending the zone, obviously, but it's also open to the north and to the south. So it's open in 3 directions. We've obviously chased it down to where it is now at about 360 meters down plunge from surface, and it's nice to see these types of grades at this depth. And again, I'll repeat, the system seems to be either changing to a hybrid or it's a combination of 2 features coming together. And personally, I like when 2 gold mineralized structures come together, good things can happen, and I think this is what we're seeing now. So we're taking a good look at it. We're going to get this hole televiewed with a camera, a downhole camera, to help determine vein directions and other structural information. And we've also re-engaged our consultant from Ireland, Dr. David Collar, to help us work our way through this. For those that have been with us for a while, Dr. Collar was instrumental in outlining basically the first structural sort of plans and theories that we have for this deposit. And to have him on board again will certainly help us plan a better program moving, but a more focused and hopefully geared to success program moving forward on this new intersection.
And how have those structural indicators changed from when we spoke, which was just over a year ago, to now? And you're obviously going to do a bit more work on it, but have you got some sort of clue as to what's actually happening there?
Well, what we're seeing, Matthew, is 2 discrete styles of mineralization that we have seen in multiple places in the drilling we've done to date. Obviously, the high grade, really juicy stuff that runs 300-400 grams. We see that, but it seems to be either superimposed upon or it's been superimposed upon by a second system that we see that typically doesn't give us, the grades surrounding it that we're seeing. Typically, just for a name, I'll just call it the brecciated type of veins. Typically, the brecciated type of veins give us 1 to 5 grams, per ton, sort of on an average. In this particular setting, in this hole, we see the brecciated veins actually contributing up to 15, 16 grams per ton. So I'm thinking it's more of an influence from the higher grade system has been juiced into maybe the pre-existing brecciated system. And I don't want to get too complicated here because it can. And it's easy to get your tongue tied up, but I think it's basically an example of where our higher grade system is merging with a slightly lower grade system, and because we've never seen an intersection this thick before. Typically the high grade material is a vein, a discrete vein, or one or two veins up to 2, 3, 4, 5 meters thick, and we get a couple of meters of material on either side of that will run in support. A couple of grams per ton into wall rock, say. For a total of 8, 10, 12 meters. We've never had anything close to 39 grams, except maybe for a hole back in phase 1 or phase 2 when we really quite sure which way we were drilling. And in fact, that hole, I think it was hole 17, cut I think 24 meters at 33 grams. And we now know that was drilled somewhat down dip or oblique to the system, but the thickness is really what's key here, and the presence of two distinct styles in the same setting.
That's really interesting and potentially quite exciting for you, because so chasing these super high grade thin veins, as it were. I think again when we spoke last time, you were talking about sort of very small step outs, trying to make sure you didn't lose this, and a lot of indicators around you to actually help guide where the drilling was going. I guess the good news it was all shallow. Because at some point, once you started gathering this data, you've got to work out how you, I guess, statistically manage what you're getting out of the ground in a way. Do you know what I mean? Because you're going to have to kind of say, well, we understand this ore body, and we understand how this thing could, what it looks like, but also more importantly, ultimately how it gets mined. Right. So in terms of your focus, it would be quite easy to blow a lot of money very, very quickly on drilling, chasing these thinner veins. But now what you're seeing, does that give you hope, Russ? And you believe that you might be able to find more of this, or is this an anomaly in many senses of the word?
Well, I don't think it's an anomaly, because we have seen instances in the past where we've intersected mineralization that kind of surprised us, that we weren't expecting to get. And an excellent example is what we call the footwall splay, which is an offset off of the main eastern trend. And again, this intersection reported last week is in the eastern trend. But is this the development, or are we seeing maybe where another footwall splay, because it would be in the footwall because it's on the north side of the hole, are we seeing another footwall splay zone developed? And, I can think of one particular mine in the world. We always use the example, of course, of Fosterville. It's these off-angle sort of chutes and splays that that form part of what is the Swan Zone, the ultimate jewelry box. And so what we need to ensure is that we know which dip direction now this potentially new splay, if you want to call it that, and I'm not calling it a splay yet because we don't fully know. But moving forward, we're now talking to the drilling contractor about wedging off of this first hole. I mean, when you start talking wedging off holes, I mean, you're talking serious business, because, you really want to know where the zone's going and where it's coming from. Because if it is an intersection, how is that intersection sitting in the ground, so we can better target it with future holes?
Right, and of course, because you need to understand that, because you need to work out how you budget for that, right? So you're setting out last quarter, $7 million or so to kind of deliver a number of programs. Obviously, Moosehead's what we have talked about in the past. I think you were at 14,000 meters of a 100,000 meter drill program. I think that's up around sort of 75,000 now. Have you got enough money to kind of deliver that 100,000 program?
Yeah, well, we were careful when we planned the programs on the other projects, that we weren't going to overspend or blow the bank and be left basically with an empty tank. So, Matthew, by the time we finish the 100,000, and we're really hoping to get the 100,000 meters done by year end at Moosehead, as well as the programs on the two joint venture programs that we currently have rigs on. One is the Lithium project at Golden Hope, called the Kraken Prospect, and where I am sitting right now at Grey River, we should be able to finish everything and still have $3 to $4 million left in the kitty at the end of the year. So, investors don't need to worry that we're spending beyond our means. I look at the balance every week, so I'm very cognizant of that. So, yeah.
Okay. So that's on the money front. What about in terms of information coming back to you and being processed in the shape of assays? Is that you suffering the Canadian malaise at the moment?
Well, actually, things are improving with respect to the gold business. We've been informed by our main lab we use, our exclusive lab for our gold analysis, Eastern Analytical, that the extension they were so desperately trying to get up and running for most of 2021 and for a good part of 2022 is now up and running. And that wait times are now getting back to more normal times. In fact, we now have less than 1,000 samples outstanding at the lab, which basically represents all or parts of about 15 holes. And they say they can even get closer to what the post, or I guess the pre boom times were here, and back to a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks sometimes. The lithium things, unfortunately, that seems to be going in the opposite direction. We even switched labs recently to get results back from the 3,000 meters that we just finished at the lithium prospect, only to be disappointed in that the wait time has actually gotten worse, not better. So but we are, they've been in the lab now long enough, Matthew, that we should start to see a significant batch. Enough maybe even for a first news release. I'd like to have about half of them back if possible, to have a meaningful press release, probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So
okay. Well, that'd be exciting, and we'll come on to the lithium in a second, because obviously that's a hot market at the moment, and a new thing for you guys as well. I just want to stick with the sort of the money side of money management side of things, okay? Because you've effectively kind of got a portfolio of assets here, obviously. 4 of them you're managing, and you've got 3 JVs going on out there. So obviously Moosehead is what we've typically talked about. I think last time out we talked about our Froude was a big part of that, and I think Golden Hope you've JV'd out, but Crippleback Lake, East Alder, etc. And with your JV of Golden Hope, Grey River, and Kepenkeck, how do you manage this in terms of time, money, and in the context of you've got to be super efficient with the capital that you've got. It's got to definitely be the best bang for your buck, because you're, 60 million market cap company. Share price, like everyone, has come off a bit. You've had a good reaction to the high grade announcement recently, but you got to be careful, right? So, what are you focused on? What are you parking up? What may you JV or flip out in some way, shape, or form?
Well, I first, and thank you for asking this very excellent question, because, sometimes I wonder myself how we're getting it all done, but it wouldn't be possible without, a high quality and first rate partner in Benton Resources. Steve and his team have just taken this thing by the horns. So they are actually managing the 3 joint venture projects. So that frees me up, and see where I am. I'm not home and sitting behind the desk. I'm going to put this sweaty old cap on.
Yeah,
pretty soon.
You got to show people the lake. It's not all bad work. Show us out the window. Come on, then. Let's have a bit of this.
Okay. This is where I am right now. I don't know how well it seems, but
that's a $1 million view right there.
Yeah, that's the northeast arm of Grey River. So
right.
The drill is over the hill a few miles in the country there. But
okay.
So basically, Steve and his team are handling things magnificently for us at Golden Hope, which is the lithium project. We're kind of sharing bodies down here at Grey River, where I am right now, and Kepenkeck is still kind of a third place project in terms of we haven't been able to focus on it yet, and we'll admit to that. We hope to get busy on that. So, but where that leaves me and my team is to focus on our flagship, which is Moosehead, and Froude, which is still 100% ours, and is still not quite at the drill stage, so it's not going to start gobbling up resources, both human and financial, just yet. I'd like to maybe see where Grey River and Kepenkeck go prior to committing to any drilling at Fleur de Lis. There will be drilling at Fleur de Lis, trust me. The geochem has turned back some very substantial till anomalies that are just begging to be drilled, but we don't want to overextend ourselves, Matthew. As you know, it's easy to do that, and then suddenly you're stuck halfway between a rock and a hard place, and no money to get out of it. So that's how it's done.
Not even with Uncle Eric in the background, who I hear was on site recently. Because managing the money is really, really important. Having a good share register is really, really important, and you got some good backers there for you. Do you think the kind of the glow has come off of the Newfound story, and it's now a case of get your head down and get on with the work? Because I think, again, when we first talked, it was very much the talk of the town. So how do you view all of that, and I guess also in the context of very huge downward pressure on precious metal more broadly?
Well, I agree. I think there is a little bit of investor fatigue in this play right now. There's probably tens of thousands of meters of core in everybody's house combined that are still outstanding. In fact, you mentioned that Eric Sprott was in Newfoundland last week, and he was. We met with him in Gander. In fact, the spirit of cooperation is quite something here in Newfoundland. In that we basically brought our core from this new drill hole, the last release, out to Gander and had it laid out in Newfound Gold's core building. Alongside all of their nice core too, which looks pretty good. And there's Mr. Sprott, standing up, just all smiles, enjoying the day. And results have obviously been a factor in terms of keeping the excitement going. I think even Lab Gold, I know Prospector Metals, another one that probably people don't hear a lot about, to the north end of the belt, put out some really good drill results a week or two ago. I see Gander Gold, Sean Ryan are still still coming up with stuff. So the play is far from dead, Matthew. It's just, I think after this season and all the results are back in, and 2023 comes around, I think you'll see a much better market and a much better defined play here in Central. That's the gold sort of thing. The lithium is another matter, and I don't know how you want to approach this.
Go on then. You're desperate to tell me all about it. High-grade lithium. Let's go for it. So tell people what you've done so far and what you're seeing.
Well, people will remember we put out a few holes there this spring. We had a very short program that, if I had my time back, probably would have held off a little bit. But there's pressure in the market to drill. The market is hot. You don't know how long some of these commodities are going to stay in play. So let's go out and put a few holes in, just see what we get. And you know what? Even though it wasn't probably the greatest program in terms of, fantastic results, we did, certainly, verify the existence of in situ, potentially economic levels of lithium for the first time in this province. And, that's a significant milestone in itself. But more to the market side, we then took those results and I think made a very compelling story that we need to drill basically 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 meters to really get a good foothold. We had so many surface targets to test, Matthew. We have mineralization exposed at surface over 2 kilometers, and you just don't test that type of strike lengths, especially with no trenching information, with anything less than that, and know how your system is behaving in the ground. And we now know that there is folding, and that a few of the holes that we drilled in phase 1 were probably drilled underneath and above folds. So, but that aside, the 3,200 meters we just finished, we did put out a little bit of information. We're cutting dikes now up to 27 meters in thickness. These are substantial, and they are well mineralized in places. They're not mineralized, top to bottom solid, but there's going to be obviously differences in terms of grade over any type of mineralization system, and lithium is no different. So we're still waiting for all of the results, basically, from that. We just wrapped up drilling, in fact, in the past 2 weeks. So the camp is still there. The guys are still in there trenching other targets, getting ready for phase 3. But based on visuals, and I know you really shouldn't do anything based on visuals, especially metallic minerals, but spodumene is a little different. We know what it looks like, and we're not bad estimators, I don't think, in terms of percentage. Some of these things should come back, in the 1% to 2% range. I can't give thicknesses because I don't know, but we have seen spodumene in concentrations in these dikes that are going to give us numbers that I think people will be pleased with.
And how do you think Benton, Stephen over at Benton needs to play this, right? It's a 50-50 JV with you. Lithium's in a hot market at the moment. It seems like, it's a nice spodumene project. You kind of need to get after this, but they're a $12 million company. I don't know where they are with cash at the moment. You presumably 50-50, are you not carried in any way, are you? It's a 50-50 proper joint venture. You have to pay your way, do you?
Yeah, everybody pays their bills at the end of the quarter.
Right.
The CFOs.
So again, it comes back to that original question, which is like, again, for a company like you, you've got to be careful of your money. So Benton may want to move at a different speed for you if they can raise money, because it didn't get much of a reaction in the market on their share price, unlike your recent announcement. So how do you make those decisions together, I guess, as a 50-50 joint venture partner?
Well, I did mention that we had a great chat with Mr. Sprott last week in Gander, and at least 50% of the conversation was about the lithium. People should realize that he's obviously a very big gold silver bug, but he's also very keen on this lithium play we've stumbled upon, and what our intentions is to spin this out. Once the results are all in and we can make a more, I guess, substantial, or I don't know what the word is, a more accurate, if you will, assessment of potential size, and then we can put at least a leading edge value on the property. We're going to spin it out and dividend, a chunk of it out to our shareholders, both companies, and then raise money, on an IPO or something. And that's being worked on as we speak. In fact, our lawyers are basically doing their background now, what needs to be done, what needs to be signed. But because I really don't want to dilute Sokoman any further to fund a non-gold project. We're sticking to our guns. We are a gold project, but it was our mandate and it is our duty that if we find anything else on any of our properties, especially if they're on our own properties, that we at least evaluate them to the point where we can take them to the next level. And the next level for Kraken is a new company. So we haven't got a name for it yet, but it's going to happen.
Send in your ideas, folks.
Yes.
There you go.
and for those that don't know, a Kraken is basically a giant squid. And there's already a rum named after it. So, but fortunately, we didn't get any copyright challenges. Because it is a word in the dictionary, I guess, that people don't own 100%. But
yeah. Well, look, so that's kind of interesting in terms of the way you're coming at that, and that's a nice thing to know. And if I look at your neighbour, Newfoundland Gold, whatever they are $700-800 million company, banging out some nice high grade numbers there. Obviously, you're not in that valuation realm there. Was that a case of where they were kind of first to market and they're seeing the benefit of that? Would you think that in reality, for someone like you guys, you're going to need to JV more of your assets out into other entities, perhaps with bigger balance sheets than Benton, to kind of capture the value that you're starting to see at places like Moosehead? And I'm sure you'll be coming back on the next few weeks and months telling us about, hopefully when these assays come through, talk about what you're seeing. But you're going to need a lot more money to get after this, one suspects. Do you think with Eric involved, there's going to be sort of tie-up of a bunch of these companies in Newfoundland?
I think that's a possibility. it's not something I talk about because I really don't have enough time in the day to talk about what could happen to my company. I'm a little more worried about the next batch of assays and things like that. But to your point about valuation, I mean, they've done a wonderful job marketing, and they've got a wonderful project. I mean, they've had by far and away the best drill results of any company in the country. In the past many years. I mean, we had some good holes starting out, but I mean they just had some better ones. And don't forget when they first came out, I forget what their IPO was at, but I mean it was, I think, north of $1. So I mean we've never been $1. So but irrelevant of that, or irrespective of that, they've done a wonderful job with the exploration, and they do have, and if you believe the numbers that I guess it was Paradigm put out on them last Christmas, they're somewhere between 1 and 2 million ounces already. So it's easy to see a justification, for a large chunk of their market cap. And we don't have a resource out yet. We're not ready to put one out. We just don't have enough information yet. I mean, we're still hitting holes 100 meters away from anything we know. So why bother to put out a resource now when it's only going to change in 3, 4, 5, 6 months? But some people.
No, I understood, but I guess I'm sort of asking about, it's kind of fascinating when you kind of look at the regions, and there's a very, Newfoundland's super busy. And we've seen, one of the companies I quite like was Marathon Gold, 5 million plus ounces in there. They've recently taken a big hit, potentially more to do with their capex going through the roof than anything else. But that's a good, well-run company with a lot of ounces in the ground in the district, sitting at around 330 million market cap, and stock down to 130 from highs of $3. So it's a funny time, isn't it? At the moment for mining companies, because even once you can find this gold, inflation then is not doing anyone a favor at the moment in terms of ramping up these capex costs, which just make those margins squeeze somewhat because the price of gold is not reacting accordingly at the moment. Or precious metal more broadly are not reacting accordingly. So it's a funny environment in which to be doing what you're doing, it seems.
Yeah, right now it seems like it's a thankless job. Although I must say we did get some appreciation in the stock price after our hole last week was announced. I think we went from like 20 up to 30. Bounced around a little bit, and we're somewhere. I don't know what we're at today. I haven't looked, but
28. I think.
Yeah, something like that, which is a nice bit better than it's been for the past several months. But I mean, you're also seeing this in the critical metals too, Matthew. I mean, I watched the BNN article last week, and they were talking about nickel and how the price of nickel isn't being reflected in a lot of the juniors that are reporting some pretty interesting results. So it seems to be just sector wide, not just metal wide. And we obviously, and the other thing is too with speaking of critical minerals, the lithium will be able to qualify for a slightly different type of financing. We're still getting our heads wrapped around it, but I understand that a super flow through type of sort of pricing can occur. So and that's why, like, I want to, when we move forward on the lithium, I want to do it in a new vehicle, with its own team, its own bank account, and as well, I think the market will respond once this happens, and I think our shareholders, deserve a reward, and that's our goal, and maybe that's what will happen with Fleur de Lis. I mean, we're being very methodical with Fleur de Lis. We've had some great results. In fact, there should be a news release coming out on Fleur de Lis in the next 3 to 4 weeks on more recent results. But it's more of the same that we've been reporting. Just great gold counts, lots of pristine grains, suggesting that the geology that we think has been totally overlooked is indeed permissive and potentially productive rocks for gold, and maybe that'll be a separate vehicle, just to keep the mothership intact and not too bloated, and actually realize the value for it. Become an incubator.
No, okay, makes total sense. I just want to understand, how flexible are you, how set in your ways are you, and it's always important for investors to understand the mindset of management taking that, and all of the above makes sense. So you've got a further 25,000 meters to do. You've got enough budget for that, and which will leave you with some cash in the bank as well. So would you be? Are you still drilling at the moment, or are you taking a pause, or how's it working?
Well, we're still drilling at Grey River. We just shut down at the Kraken. We drilled 3,200 meters there. We're not going to do any more drilling until we get results back, and they should be starting to trickle in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, 25,000 meters at Moosehead with 3 rigs, including one on the barge. The 4th rig at Moosehead is one we have down here, so it's in use, and.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's interesting. So you talk about, like, so obviously you are in a beautiful setting, but it's kind of helicopter in or boat in territory. Which must add to the cost somewhat, but you've made the decision to get going. It's better than sitting around waiting, burning cash. Same with barge drilling. I mean, that must be just that. Is that a little bit more expensive?
It is marginally, Matthew, but not overly. I would say no more than 15% more.
Okay.
We really don't. We use the helicopter occasionally, to position some stuff. But where Moosehead has such excellent access. I mean, the Trans-Canada Highway runs through it. There's 2 paved highways actually that run through it, and you can drive a truck right to the side of the lake where the barge is. So, yeah, it's not as bad as people think. It's certainly not as expensive as a helicopter-supported job. That's for sure.
Good. Okay, well, look, Tim, I appreciate you coming on today and, like, sharing where you want to give us that update. Lots of drilling results to come, lots more drilling to come. Maybe next time we see you, we can do another sort of technical session on what you're seeing or what you feel about the ore body up at Moosehead, and anything else, any other decisions that you made. So appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you again really soon. We should definitely do this once we've got a head of steam built up on the lithium, and that shouldn't be any more than 4, 5, 6 weeks away, maybe at the most. So maybe we can have a nice Christmas present for our shareholders.
Let's hope so. Thanks again, Tim. Cheers. Bye.
All right, Matthew. Take care.